All right.
Okay. We are now streaming live on YouTube. And for the record, there are no attendees at this meeting,
Hello. I'm starting a meeting. Everything all right?
but we are live.
Okay, bye.
Hang on, Barney wants to join. I'm going to send him the meeting link. You don't have to wait.
Hi, Kari.
No, Barney.
All right, should I call the order and then we can move to add Barney? Oh, no, we don't have to. Never mind. We're all virtual. Wake up. Someone has a cold. Okay, ready to start?
Yeah.
All right, the Recreation Committee meeting of the Park District of Highland Park is called to order on Tuesday, October 19th at 4:03 p.m. Pursuant to Section 70 of the Open Meetings Act, President of the Board of Park Commissioners has made a finding it is not practical nor prudent to hold in-person meetings because of the COVID-19 public health emergency. Neither the elected officials nor the public will be allowed to attend regular or committee meetings in person, but will participate virtually. Links to the virtual meeting can be found on the Park District website. Roxanne, can you please call the roll?
Commissioner Bernstein,
Here.
Commissioner Freeman.
Here.
Vice President Grossberg.
Here.
Executive Director Romas, do we have any additions to the agenda?
We do not.
Okay, is there anyone from the public attending tonight's meeting?
Nobody registered. Nobody attended.
Okay. Moving on to approval of last meeting's minutes, is there a motion to approve the Recreation Committee meeting minutes from September 2nd, 2021? Is there a second?
Was I there? If I was there, then I second.
I believe you were. Double check. Roxanne, can you confirm?
Sorry, I'm also sending Barney the meeting invitation link. Give me 1 second, Cal, and I can tell you if you were at the September 2nd meeting.
Regardless, I think I could second it, but I'd like to, before I vote, I'm going to make sure I was at the meeting.
Yep, so it was you, it was the three of you. You were all
Okay.
there.
Then I second it and I
You
vote
joined
aye.
at 4:04.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, motion carries. We're looking at the 2020 Summer and Camp Report. Assistant Director Malashevsky to present.
Freeman, that was impressive. Malashevsky.
It's close.
Maiden name Wojciechowski.
All right, we're on the same page. We got a lot of skis then.
I went
So,
with the Polish though. I didn't go with like the Malazewski westernized
appreciate that.
version.
That's
So
impressive.
Wojciechowski to Malashevsky.
all right, we're on the same page then. I appreciate that. So, well, thank you for having me. As Commissioner Freeman stated, I'm here to discuss Camp 2021. And as the committee knows, our past manager of recreation used to give this report on an annual basis. And she did not know I was going to do this, but I just want to introduce the Recreation Committee to our new recreation manager, Julie Nichols, who's present with us today. We're extremely excited to have her on our team. She'll be leading the camp committee for many years to come. We're extremely excited to have her. So just wanted to make note of that. And then I also wanted to state that, as I did say, our past rec manager, Kathy Fiore, did give this presentation. We got big shoes to fill. I know the commissioners often look forward to this report. So I hope I do her proud and put forth some good information. So can everybody see my presentation?
No.
No?
No.
No.
Hold on, let me see here. Is that better? You should see the camp brochure cover. All right. So I'm not sure exactly if this was shared or not, but a brief summary of our Camp 2021 season, as the group certainly understands. This was a very cumbersome camp season for many reasons. Obviously, the pandemic provided many challenges and obstacles, of which our staff was nimble, creative, and passionate about offering summer camp as close as possible to previous years and certainly pre-pandemic to ensure that the children of our community have experiences that we expect, whether or not we are in a pandemic. So our camp marketing campaign kicked off with the theme Find Your Adventure. If you recall, that's something that we've consistently encouraged campers to do throughout the last few years, but we certainly taglined this past summer with Take Back Summer. If the group recalls 2020 Camp Hometown and things of that sort, certainly did not allow for family members or children to have much of a say in what type of activities they can participate in. So we really wanted to hammer home the Take Back Summer, participate in our camps, get back to normal as best as possible. And I could confidently say our marketing campaign paid dividends. And how we could deduce that is first day of registration, we had 241 registrations, whereas 2019 pre-pandemic, we had 131. So we nearly doubled from 19 to 21, our first day interest. That shows a lot of pent up demand within the community, but also a trust factor. Families in our community trusted the Park District to enroll their children in a 7-week or 4-week opportunity to participate in summer camp amidst some of the most concerning times all of us have experienced. So something we should all be proud of. With health and safety being of utmost importance, as traditionally is the case, staff members went through an in-service training on June 15th. Here we discussed our traditional expectations, health, safety, et cetera, but also hammered home and hit in a different degree of a level of importance, the COVID-19 mitigation expectations. And while I'm happy to say we certainly did not have any mass outbreaks, there were certainly times where we had to navigate through some contact tracing and things of that sort, but it was done professionally. It was done in a manner that families were comfortable, and they were certainly kept aware of any circumstances that may impact their situation personally. As we transition into actually the implementation and to be able to take back summer, we had to find ways to be creative to re-implement some of the key staples of our summer camps that is expected within the community when they think of the Park District summer camp offerings. So we re-implemented visits to various facilities, both internally here at the Park District, as well as some of external field trips to places like Six Flags, Funtopia. We went horseback riding, and the list goes on and on of the experiences children were able to partake in for the first time in essentially 2 years, and really paid dividends and really paid off in terms of feedback and what we anticipate being the demand again for 2022 as we re-implement some of the offerings which in 2021 we were unable to. So some of the key provisions which we find to be integral to camp are AM and PM routes that we offer bus service, from the home to the site. We were unable to do that in 2021. We did not want to mix children amongst camps in terms of keeping contact tracing manageable, as well as not jeopardizing various camps to be shut down as we commingled. So we have full intention in 2022, if allowable within the given circumstances of the pandemic or COVID mitigation, to re-implement our AM and PM routes. And also we were unable to in 2021 to host our CIT camp, which is our counselor in training. Again, if you recall the premise of that camp, it's to integrate some of our older campers, 6th, 7th, 8th graders into the various younger age camps to prepare them to be a counselor for future years. Again, an effort not to commingle, we did not feel safe. And then lastly, our centralized before and after care. So in previous years, we would house all before camp care and all after camp care here at Westridge. We would bus the children from their various camps to Westridge. Again, an effort not to commingle. We offered before and after care at each location. And admittedly, that stretched our staff thin and put some parameters on various staff members to work elongated hours. I will say, though, that all but 2 sites were canceled for before and after care, not needing that resource. And so it was not as impactful as we anticipated. which was a great thing for our staff. But however, we do want to meet that need come next year in 22, should families have a need for before and after care. And our intention is to centralize it here at Westridge as best as possible. So with that quick summary, does anybody have any questions? And I'll just go through some quick highlights of each camps. I have a kind of one-off sheets for each camp, some highlights and things of that sort.
Anyone on the board? Any questions?
No
I don't have
questions.
any.
Yeah.
All right. So a real quick snapshot of our participation and breakdown. These are unique participants. So as you can see in 2021, we had 524 unique participants. Traditionally, we would have somewhere around 1,000 or thereabout. So we were about at 50% in terms of unique active participants. Now, what I can say is, while that would seem to be concerning, what I can excitedly say is that our staff was, again, as I said earlier, nimble and creative enough to find ways to ensure from a district's perspective, our revenue expectations and with respect to camp are somewhat as close as previous years as possible. So we offered more than ever, in my experience, weekly opportunities and various opportunities for families to register at various times of the year. And as you'll see on the next slide, in terms of active registrations, we were in participants per session, we were getting closer to where our traditional numbers would be in terms of our registration. So if you look here in 2021, our active registrations were 1,251, and in 2019, 1,202. So the amount of registrations we were occurring and the revenue that was able to be recognized because of that flexible scheduling, the weekly mini camp offerings and things of that sort, you'll see here shortly, we were as best as possible able to get as close to previous years. So as you can see here in 2021, our gross revenue was 1.244, which is extraordinary in many levels, considering first and foremost, our community inevitably had impacts due to the pandemic, and financial discretionary income may have been limited to various degrees. And we were able to staff, amongst the pandemic enough, we were able to gain enough staff members to offer as many camps as we did. And I'll tell you, throughout the year, this was about 20 various camp opportunities. Traditionally, we're about 25, 26. So we were only about 4 or 5 less opportunities for campers and able to recognize just as much participatory registrations as well as fairly close in revenue, given normal circumstances compared to the pandemic. Questions? Quiet bunch. So real quick, Camp Sunshine is our little camp for our youngest of community members that we're able to accommodate. This camp certainly was not offered in 2020, and traditionally it is hosted at Westridge, as well as various District 112 facilities. This year, for obvious reasons, we efficiently put that entire camp here at Westridge. It bode very well for efficiency, for monitoring of safety and health protocol. As you can imagine, with children of that age, there were a lot of concerns amongst staff members, but we navigated them almost flawlessly in a sense, and were able to implement that camp without a hitch, frankly. And for 2022, we are considering offering various age groups, starting a little bit younger, maybe having 2 different locations. Traditionally, that would be at Ravinia and Westridge, where, as I said, this year it was at Westridge, and then offering 5-day-a-week programs, whereas traditionally we do offer 3 days. Our wait lists of previous years may show us that there is a demand for 5-day, full-day Camp Sunshine. Our crew camps, our most popular camps throughout the district, these are our traditional general summer camp offerings. Again, we were unable to in 2020 to host crew camp as a traditional format. We did locate this year in 21, 2 different locations. So we were at Sherwood Elementary. Initially, our senior and senior crew XL were supposed to be at Red Oak, but we had some construction concerns from District 112. So we had to in the middle of camp almost, moved them back to Sunset for safety parameters, which was exciting because that's where those camps are traditionally held, and it gave the element of the past, and it allowed for our staff members to have some sort of recognition. We had many attractions brought to crew camps, whereas traditionally they would go off site, things of that sort, but it went extremely well. Numbers were through the roof. And we fully expect in 2022 to move all 3 camps from a crew perspective back to Sunset. Our Spotlighter camps, which is our performing arts and theater camp, traditionally is housed here at Westridge. They share the facility with our Camp Sunshine. However, this past year, we did move them to Braeside. Braeside was conducive for this type of activity and this type of camp because it did have a stage. For those of you that are familiar with it, we have a show or a performance at the 4-week and 7-week marks. Those shows were well attended. Family members were extremely excited and thankful to be able to participate and witness their child performing in an activity when they have not done so for 18 months. I participated and witnessed both shows. They were very well done, very exciting to see the little ones participating and performing in the element, which you could tell they feel comfortable and excited to be in. So for next year, we're considering keeping it at Braeside since they do have the access to the stage, but we are considering other location for our performances, such as the new NSSRA building. And then we do want to bring back field trips for this group to witness some theater productions or some dance performances or things of that sort where we were unable to this year just due to COVID. High tide, low tide are our nature camps. These were brand new this year. They sold out very fast, and these camps were held, one at Rosewood and the other would be at Ravinia School. Ravinia School provided a great location in proximity to the beach. It was a beach-focused camp, as is our high tide, low tide, which is at the interpretive center at Rosewood as well. So a lot of nature discovery, a lot of learning, a lot of activities, certainly conducive to being outdoor in the elements, which is why we saw significant interest in camps of this sort, given the pandemic and the safety measurements and nature of being outdoors. The feedback from families was just absolutely impressive, and we fully expect these camps to grow over the course of the next few years. However, we do intend, if possible, to bring back some of our overnight camp trips like OAC and things of that sort. And our staff is really excited to re-implement those as well. Hook, Line, and Sinker is a mini camp. It's our 1-week camp at the backside of camp, the 8th week. It's a full fishing camp. Campers are able to learn how to tie knots and hook a worm and things of that sort. It was sold out. The one thing we were unable to do this year for those mini camps was go on our big boat fishing trips where we would go on Lake Michigan and catch salmon and things of that sort. So we were kind of confined to Danny Caniff Pond. But again, it went extremely well. So hopefully next year we're able to do things of that sort, get back out on the Lake Michigan with a guided tour. Golf Academy, almost tripled from the previous summer. Traditional PGA half-day camps were offered again, and they were extremely well attended. The one thing that we were hindered by in some capacity was just different field trip activities for the golf camp, different courses to participate in. We were leery of COVID mitigation, so we tried as best as possible to keep our campers here at Sunset. So our staff is looking towards next year to getting on different golf courses for our Golf Academy. Deer Creek, as the group may recall, last year we transitioned to 2 half-day offerings. That was received extremely well. We decided to break them up by skill level and age, and it went extremely well in 2020. 2021, the rate at which participation was recognized was not near the level in sense of numbers as 2020. So I can tell you this camp is transitioning back to a full day with field trips and things of that sort to get more towards a summer camp environment with a focus on tennis. Whereas this past year, it was a half-day camp with 100% focus on tennis. This past year, we also introduced 2 gymnastic camps, so a recreational and a competitive. They were split up in various options, 7 4 weeks. Participants also had the option of 3 or 2 days based on skill level and what they wanted to get out of it. Extremely well received. is going to be, in my estimation, a great transition for young gymnasts to participate in our competitive team and get training all throughout the summer in preparation of that. And I think that our gymnastics area, in particular, our competitive team, is seeing great growth right now, and facilitating and fostering an excitement for gymnastics year round is really only going to help long-term us with a consistent competitive team, as well as bolster our recreation numbers as well. Girls Play Strong is our girls sports camp. It was housed at Indian Trail. This was one of our camps where we were fortunately able to act as the old, if you will. We were able to do a lot of different activities. Girls were able to find themselves in competitive environments, things of that sort. Our director, Sophia was her name, was a college soccer player at DePaul. She was fantastic. She was so well received. We're doing a mini camp this winter in December for Girls Play Strong to just keep some of the momentum that was gained throughout the summer. And she's a really key component of that. And we expect that camp will grow over the next few years. We had mini camps, JV sports and baseball camps. So these were half-day offerings, kind of what I alluded to previously. In order to gain the participation, which we strived for, we had to offer some mini opportunities, and that was our younger athletes as well as a baseball focus. The reception for these opportunities was through the roof. We had a lot of participations. The wait lists were lengthy. Our athletics team did a tremendous job getting as many campers as they could off. And it was a great opportunity for some of our competitive younger athletes to get a summer camp environment in a lesser length of time, that they're not becoming exhausted for their activities in the evening. That was one of the bits of feedback we've got, particular to athletic camps, was that our camps are tremendous. We almost tire them out too much. And then in the evening, when it's a baseball game or a flag football game, the kids are pooped. So these mini camp offerings are a great segue into getting the best of both worlds, if you will. And then lastly is our varsity and JV sports. So our younger athletes, grades 3 through 8th, our JV sports camp was held at Wayne Thomas, our varsity at Walters Field on the turf. Again, these are more of our traditional sports camps, competitive environments, skill development, but also teaching rules of the game, sportsmanship, things of that sort. These are a staple of our camp portfolio, and our athletics community look forward to them on a yearly basis. And from an implementation standpoint, in a progressive, we strive to be able to do things next year like tours of Wrigley Field, or participating or witnessing a pro sports game, things of that nature that we were in some form or fashion able to this year, but obviously not to the degree of which we have in years past. So we're looking forward to getting back to that. So all that being said, that was Camp 21. And we have our first camp committee kickoff meeting next Wednesday for Camp 22. So plans are already taking way, and we're excited to see where the year takes us. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Let's see who's first. I'm gonna let Terry. Do you have any questions?
I'm not really. I was just wondering, did we charge? What was our charge like for participating? Was it similar to 2019? Did we raise prices, lower prices?
No. So it was similar to 2019 in that we have a daily fee of which we implement in our camp pricing based on the industry or the activity type. We would have a slight increase from 2019 if the camp was similar in nature and we were able to provide all of we were able to in years past. There were pricing modifications based on field trips and things of that nature, which we would have not been able to participate in years in last year's, whereas we would in years past. But from a financial standpoint, it was fairly similar.
That's it. Thank you.
Yep.
Barney?
Oh, hi. Nice report. I wanted to compliment you on the report and on the efforts of everybody to make the summer as successful as it was. Just a couple questions though. Following up on Terry, remind me how we're pricing the camps in comparison to other districts, and obviously it's less than, I assume, private camps, but how are we pricing them?
That's a loaded question
I
because
know.
each camp serves a different industry and has different provisions. And even an attempt to compare them to local communities, I don't know that that's a fair exercise because I don't know that the provisions which we put forth in our camps are equitable to other communities, if that
Mhm.
makes sense. So when staff does do a pricing analysis for our camp brochure, which is ongoing at this time as well, we certainly do consider outside communities, but we have to consider more so of how we're planning our expenses. And then that justifies our participation fee based on our revenue policy. So we kind of plan backwards to say, what is our expenses on the year? How many participants are we anticipating? And then where do we need to be within our pricing structure to meet our net revenue policies?
And what is our profit after all of our expenses, I assume?
Our camp traditionally is about 50%.
Okay.
That 50% is typically used to cover indirect costs, because that would be pre-indirect costs.
Well, I think the goal is that we have net revenue that goes into our account. That's really, and I guess I just want to say you're being careful, I know, so we're not overreaching, but if our camps are that good, we obviously could have a tickle of a premium, I assume.
I will say our camps, to that point, are probably priced at a premium depending on the type of camp it is. So I will say our Spotlighters camp, certainly a premium priced camp, whereas our crew camp may be a little bit more in line with what we would expect other communities or some of our private or competitors to be at.
Okay, but just a couple of questions that I just want to follow up on. And this is making a leap into a different direction. Are we giving consideration as we sit down to think about the new Westridge to a facility that will allow us to have a stage and bring in-house the drama and the other activities that require a stage, because that's obviously a success for us? Or are we going to still try to thinking about relying upon the schools as a source of a stage environment?
Brian, you want to go first? I'll let you.
We're not obviously quite there yet in that process, but I would say, of course, we're considering it. But we try and collaborate as often as we can, right? So if there's numerous schools that have theaters and NSSRA, their new building has a theater, we in the high schools have a theater. We try as often as we can to not duplicate a facility that we can use that's already exists in our community. So specifically, theater would be one that we would probably continue to share. But there are ways where we can have multi-use spaces where there can be theater-esque, a stage, but maybe not a theater. I would say probably what we would do.
Yeah, and I would wonder how that would interfere with the gymnastics facility if we build that. So I was just curious of what our thinking was along those lines. I mean, that was a good report, and I just wanted to touch on those two bases. Thank you.
Thanks, Barney.
Al.
Again, I'm just repeating what's already been said. Chris, I know you have big shoes to fill on this report, and I think
I was
you did an
contemplating
admirable
wearing a
job.
mask of Kathy. I was going to print a photo and put it over my head or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to compete with previous presentations, and you did an admirable job. So thank you.
Thank you.
The only question I have, and I actually doesn't require a response. I assume this presentation will be given to the full board at some time.
So really at the discretion of the board, we were using the committee as an opportunity to share it with the committees instead of at the full board.
Okay, but that's fine. It's just sometime in the future you could supplement the presentation and just indicate how many tuitions, I'm gonna call them, were incorporated into the SMILE program, and how that compared to previous years. Just want to track to make sure that we're also being able to serve the people who can't afford to go to our camps, and there's sufficient funds in those accounts to make sure that those people who need it are getting the ability to find some funding. So in the future, when you make this presentation, please include that information. And if you could supplement this sometime in the future, that'd be great.
Thank you.
That's all I got. Thank you.
I had a couple things I just wanted to add. By the way, great presentation. Thank you. We've done a lot of camps around here. I will say my kids thoroughly have enjoyed the Park District camps the best. I want to point out the data points where we saw in 2021, everyone I know was excited to get their kids out of the house and get them back to camp and do things this summer, for sure. A lot of us couldn't swallow a larger commitment, which is where I think you see some of the pulling away. And it's not just the pricing of other local camps, but there are other local camps that maybe are not premium that are week by week. So I would like the committee to explore the scalability. Like, what is the break even point if we had more mini camps that went a whole day? Or what if we allowed some of these camps to be not 4 or 7 week commitments? You guys lost the Freemans last year because we can only do 7 weeks of Spotlighters or we were out based on our schedule, and it just didn't work for us, which was a shame. And we tried something else, and honestly, we really didn't like it. We liked the flexibility, but we didn't like the thing we were doing. So there has to be some way to offer. It doesn't need to be the most premium camp experience. Like maybe the backpack isn't the biggest deal, and maybe some of those other things. But this other one was basically like sitting in a field and going on a field trip 3 times a week. So there was a lot of bus, but maybe the bus scaled. So the bus was cheaper. Maybe they bought a bus. I have no idea. But I'm saying like we might need to explore some things that we haven't before in terms of scale and flexibility, because what I will tell you, if you don't already know this, and many of you probably do, is parenting, especially through the summer, but really just until your kids are old enough to be home alone, is a patching it together so you don't lose your mind and you can work, is really kind of how that works. And you want them to have the best quality thing. So you're not just dumping them in a field and sending them on a bus somewhere, but like, you know, you want to patch that together and make that really work in a way that you feel is comfortable. So weird times of day are a big no-go, right? Like we were doing Park District and one drop-off was at 9:05 and the other was at 9:20, and never the twain shall meet. There was not a lot of flexibility there in a drop-off window. So then we're carpooling and trying to patch it together and figure out. So like eliminating some of those barriers that makes just daily working parent scheduling better is a thing. And also maybe like smaller week chunks. I know we want to have that commitment because obviously that's good business, but there are others who have figured out how to make this scale in a price to value ratio that you have everybody anyway. But this idea that I could take a week off and not pay for it or whatever is great because people do take vacations. So we saw that in the mini camps. I know tons of friends who threw their kids in the mini camps because it filled up that time with cool quality activity. So I just I urge the committee, I'm passionate about this, but I urge the committee to think creatively about not as many, maybe, right? So we get a better commitment, but not just 7 weeks or you can't do it kind of thing. And then, you know, the pricing, I think, if we're going to add hours to the day, make a day an hour longer or whatever, we should, you know, really call that out. Because if you're looking at price to price, it's sort of like, wow, if I had the bus, it's $5,000. And now we are talking about your Park District competing with Tamarack or Banner or whatever, you know, like we're not that. We don't want to be that, I don't think. So just calling out what else you're getting in addition for the money, if we are going to change the price. It wasn't even, as people were starting to say, I think the reason a few other commissioners brought up how much does it cost and is that competitive or practical is because it did go up on paper. So why? And what more are we offering for that? Because I was sad to, you know, I've tried to recruit always, oh, hey, we're going to camp, come with us. And then when that starts to kind of roll downhill a little bit and we see we're picking up the mini camp, maybe we need to pivot. That's all. But I loved the presentation and we love Park District Camp and it's better than anything else going out there.
No, well, that's well taken, Commissioner Freeman. You know, we are on a path to discuss how we can better serve the community pre-camp. We understand that there's a need from the time school gets out to the time our traditional camps start. We also understand that same sentiment holds true on the 8th week of camp, meaning the time from when camp ends to when the time school begins, and then also having that mini camp flexibility. I will say, though, there are various sorts of activities and sorts of camps that don't lend themselves as best to weekly opportunities. A Spotlighters is a great example because of a performing arts camp, because of a show, because of kids having roles and
For
routines,
sure.
things of that sort. So when we're looking at camps like athletics or maybe a crew camp, things of that sort that lend themselves to more weekly opportunities, we're certainly going to be exploring those and guiding staff as best as possible to implement them. And then the other consideration is staffing. I will say weekly camps from our perspective are cumbersome because we can't promise our staff members that they'll work unless we have the enrollment. And when we're allowing weekly enrollments a week prior, we don't necessarily know how to plan. So it becomes somewhat cumbersome, and we have to ensure that we have an adequate workforce that's flexible enough and willing to work with us in various forms or fashions on times when they may not have work be conducted. But the sentiment would be that we would only offer camps that we know are going to run on a weekly basis to ensure that our staff members do have adequate work. So there's a lot of hurdles to overcome, but I certainly hear you loud and clear, and we're on the same page. And I think that as our camp committee takes shape starting next week, we'll start moving towards some of those things you'd like to see better out of us.
Yeah, perfect. And I think some of it's packaging too, because if you look at some other brochures, it's like, oh, you have a week off school, here's what you can do.
Correct.
So in the searching and sorting, I know we've heard this 1,000 times before, but like not everything is tagged quite right. Like we need somebody to go back and QC the tagging on because if I just type baseball, I just want to see everything baseball. But it's not. I'm looking for emails from Mike, and hitting league is something else, but this is a camp. Mini camps were all under camp. They weren't under baseball. So if I could say, like, if I had a place I could look for the week we're off of school or all days we're off school, right? Any gap days, if I could click a button and see all the gap activities that are scheduled. Oh gosh, I look like I'm landed on the moon. I'm so sorry. But if I could hit that button, it's more about the usability, and this is part of the website, but if I could hit that button and be like, here's all the gaps I fill. As a parent, I'm looking to fill every gap of childcare and activity and getting them all set for the year. So, you know, it's one thing to pick the drop down for Mondays, but it's like all the stuff you don't have covered, let's start with that. And I would go through and I would pick it. And you could pull like this Glenview list and it'll show you like, oh, you have the day off. Here's what you can do. You know, it's just some of that, because what might not be considered camp for us, that extra week is camp for somebody else, right? So I think it's not even necessarily about the offerings. It's sometimes about the usability and the packaging. But totally get your point on the scalability issue. I just would like to explore load balancing.
Yep, and I can assure you, we are moving in that direction.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Chris.
Okay, where's my agenda? I got so excited. We have another report. I know that. And I lost my page. Here we go. Okay, anything else on the camp report? Jen is off for soapbox. Okay, cool. 2021 Summer Aquatics Report. Manager Acevedo to present. Hi.
Well, Kathy, but get Chris this time. So I will be reporting on how aquatics went this summer for Rosewood and Hidden Creek. So to start off, let me pull that up for you guys. Okay, so starting with Rosewood Beach. So our summer ran from May 29th to September 6th, which is 12 full weeks. And then we did 3 weekends at the end of summer. We were lucky this year in an aspect that we got staff to start working right away. Our high school students were done before Memorial Day weekend, so we weren't struggling to staff during the weekdays at Rosewood. So even though we had a colder summer or start of the summer, we did need that because people were, you know, getting out there right away and wanting to be at the beach. So it was great that we had staff there ready to go during Memorial Day weekend. Our hours of operation were 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Daily. We did have staff on there on busy days till 7 o'clock when we felt that, you know, people were not getting out of the water. So we felt the need to staff it for that additional hour on those days. We had about 50 employees dedicated as their home location for Rosewood, which included a facility manager and a supervisor daily. We had lifeguards from 10 to 6, and then 2 shifts for ambassadors this year. We had 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. and then 1:45 to 6:15. We changed our parking and access control this year, so we did have more attendance, and it paid off very well, as you'll see later down the road. But they worked from roughly about 9:30 to 6. We split that up into 2 shifts most of the time. So we also brought back our advanced security. They were scheduled May 29th through September 11th, 6 p.m. to 12 p.m. So they were there for after hours to be there for security and extra eyes, making sure people were not going in the water, and reporting to our lead ambassador staff was the main contact if things were going wrong, and they would report to either myself or Eric, who was our new facility coordinator this year. So they were both at Rosewood and Park Avenue. For safety, we always really like to focus on our preseason training, and we train each week for our lifeguards, so making sure that they're always ready to go. We worked with the Highland Park Fire Department and trained with them, so our staff knows what to do in case of a real emergency, and we did have to call them several times this summer, just for some small incidents, but very proactive. We got a lot of compliments from the community on how fast our EAP was activated on certain situations. So our staff was doing great with that. We did get audited this summer a few times by Councilman and Hunsaker. They did not come out in 2020. So it was good to have them back and making sure that our staff is being accountable and doing their job. So I'm an outside source, not looking from not just our staff. And so they know that they have to be taking their job seriously. So, and then once again, we did our weekly mandatory in-services throughout the summer. We did make sure that our staff was following COVID-19 policies and procedures. And then our new this year, our seasonal supervisors and head guards had the opportunity due to Crisis Prevention Institute. Both Anna and I, the aquatic supervisor, had a chance to go through that first. It was some role playing with our staff, especially due to some incidents we had in 2020. It was kind of hard with patrons not being so nice. So we got to kind of do role playing and work those scenarios out with our staff. So that was another safety measure that we took. Some access control. We had 2 scanning stations, which was new. So we implemented the key cards for everyone to scan in, and then added the lakefront parking decals. Okay. Here is just at a glance the Rosewood Beach revenue from this past summer. Some things to highlight: the parking decal. So we sold 6,372 decals, which brought in $191,170. You'll see there is an asterisk to that. We did do a 40-40-20 split. So there was money allocated to Park Avenue in the admin. So that total number for 2021 is adjusted accordingly with daily parking and parking decals. So you will see a difference of $89,795. Daily pass admission. So you will see we had people coming out, enjoying the beach, something safe that everyone could do this summer. So there was a total of 4,703 daily admissions. And then you can see that the daily pass admission revenue, there was a $39,150 difference comparable to the previous year. That mainly we believe is due to access control. People were not sneaking in. Our staff was holding everyone accountable and making sure that we were getting everyone paid for and enjoying the beach. So This is the second year we're doing the season pass for our non-residents. We have a total of 578, which our largest contributors was Deerfield, which they had 234 passes sold. So that's one of the areas that we'll focus on going for next year, and making sure that we are, getting the word out that we have our non-resident seasonal pass. And then below that is our seasonal pass revenue. So we were at 28,550. So the large increase, like I said before, is due to our lakefront parking decals. Okay, so here's just a glance at our revenue and expenses. So our revenue, the biggest highlights for fees and charges. So we budgeted for only 94,000, not knowing about how much we were going to be making for lakefront decals, so that you see that huge increase. Sorry, it's getting a little sunny in here. And then we did not have any rentals for picnic tables this year. Those were just first come, first serve. And then another thing to highlight, due to COVID restrictions, we did not have concessions this year. That is something we're looking to bring back for next summer. Just with so many restrictions and not knowing the unknown, we did not have that. So you do not see a revenue allocated to that. And then this year, for our parking violations, we brought in, we budgeted for 4,500, and so far for projected is 5,500 for the year. Okay, so one of our biggest expense is always staffing and wages. We budgeted for 141,000 roughly, and are projected at 172. We're almost, that's going to be pretty much firm because we're done with this season. But adding more staff, especially in July, was a very hot and busy summer for us at the beach. So then contractual services, that is for our security firm that was not originally a plan for that much. So we do see that. Okay. So overall, sorry. And then moving forward to Hidden Creek. Hidden Creek, our operational dates were May 29th through September 6th. May 29th through June 15th was reservations only. So we were only allowing 200 to reserve spots at that time. And during our lap swim, it was only 2 per lane. Our regular season early bird was from 5:30 a.m. to 9:30. We had aquafit from 8:30 to 9:30, and then camp swim lessons and open swim lessons from 9:30 to 12. So we did, provide that experience for our campers. And we also had camp, open swim, and swim lessons going on at the same time. Usually we hold camp swim lessons at the indoor pool at the recreation center, but due to how many kids we would need to accommodate at that time and providing the experience and wanting to keep them as safe as possible, we had lessons at the outdoor pool. And I believe it worked very well. We got good feedback from our counselors and from our staff that it just was more organized and they were able to stay safe. So, that was, from the community aspect, that it wasn't open to the public at that time, but it did provide a service to many of our community members by providing that experience for our campers. And I think that was a benefit that we have such a great facility that we can do that for. Post-season was August 16th through September 6th. Our hours were 5:30 a.m. to 9:30 for lap swim. And then also we had aquafit during that time. And then we had open swim from 5 to 7 for postseason. For birthday parties this summer, we did 2 semi-private birthday parties from 10 to 12 on Saturday. So keeping the weekends limited to just 2 parties in the morning. We pretty much sold out almost every weekend, which was great for and very organized. And we put a set number versus doing how many participants. So it, we did meet our revenue expectations for that. Family Punch Pass sold. It was a 30% of our normal rates instead of making it full price. So something that was affordable for families to get out there and enjoy our pool. And then starting on June 15th, we did start membership sales with the restrictions being lifted. At Hidden Creek, we had about 80 employees, our seasonal manager and head guards, daily lifeguards from 5:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. and then the front desk from 5:30 a.m. to 7. And slide attendants started at 10 a.m. and they worked till 7. And then some safety protocols for that. Once again, we do the same training for our aquatic staff at Hidden Creek as well. We cross-train. We did our preseason training. Usually we get to train at the high school, but our staffs were troopers. They were, training in 50-degree weather at the beginning of May. So they stuck it out and we were outside and we got through it to keep everyone safe. We worked with the Highland Park Fire Department. We got audited at the pool. We did live action drills and also weekly mandatory in-service training. And then with the same crisis prevention institute, all our staff went through that as well. At a glance, here's our Hidden Creek revenue. So you can see that there were some ups and downs, but to be expected, I did compare to 2019 since we were not open due to COVID restrictions in 2020. So daily fees, we brought in $195,000, which is great to see people getting out and utilizing the pool, even when we had 2 hours less each day for our community to use that. It shows that people were ready to get out there and enjoy the pool. Camp open, so you will see a negative here. That is due to only having our internal camps this summer. We did not extend the offer to external camps, but we will be bringing that back for 2022. Our coupon books, which were our family fun pass. First, I think we did a great job at getting the word out there, and I think families were really just looking to get back, so they used that option to buy those 10 punch passes. So you'll see that there was a difference of $46,743. And then seasonal memberships, we pushed those memberships, but I think so many people were, didn't want to commit to just a seasonal membership, or they just getting out there. They wanted to do other things, but or we had purchased fun passes, which we did. Give refunds if people wanted to transfer over to a membership. So you will see that it's slightly lower, but that was anticipated with not being able to start selling memberships until mid-June. Rentals, like I said, for our birthday parties, we actually did better than 2019, even though we had less parties, mainly because we were booking, our 2 parties each weekend, and being able to have that as a premium for people to do. And I think they really liked that it was like a semi-private environment, so they felt safe and there was not too many people there. Merchandise and reimbursement. So we did not have concessions, like I said, due to COVID restrictions. So we were not able to bring in the revenue that we usually do for that by having an outside concession. Okay. And then attendance for 2021, we had 23,952 compared to 2019, which we had 24,427. So we were lower, but with, the first week started off slow. We had the cold weather. We had reservations. And 2 less hours, I think that, it does show that we're, very close to hitting our numbers, but are exceeding from 2019 with less time and less availability for people. Okay, and then, sorry guys. And then here is just the, at a glance, the revenue and expenses for Hidden Creek. So our budgeted number, $2,370,000 for fees and charges projected. So we're over that, to looking to bring in an additional 105,761 rentals. We budgeted to not have as many due to restrictions, but we did exceed that. Merchandise concessions, like I said before, we weren't able to have that. And then for expenses, we budgeted for less than projected due to, first we thought we were going to be in reservations and have limited amount of people. So we were only going to be staffing at about 8 to 9 guards. On any given day, we needed roughly about 12 to 13 based on how many people were in our pool. So it was utilized, so we did need the extra staff. And then contractual services, budgeted for 20,333, projected at 22,456. So at a loss over there. And then materials and supplies, something I did want to point out with our new filter that we have, filtration system. There was a learning curve, and we had to go through more chemicals and adjust. We were losing water at first, and we had to make some adjustments, but those were corrected. So there is an additional expense cost there, and that is tied to for materials for chemicals and then utilities for the water loss. That was corrected. And then overall, you can see that we were projected to lose, or our net revenue was 82,680, and then projected right now is a loss of $38,606. Okay, and then some recommendations for next year is to continue to cross-train for lifeguards for both locations, and attendance for both Rosewood at Hidden Creek. This will allow us to meet our recruitment numbers and have enough staff. We always set a goal for recruiting efforts, and our goal this year was 120 staff. We met that and exceeded. We had 140 aquatic staff members this year, with about 70% were new and 30% were returning. Usually it's about a 50-50. But because Hidden Creek wasn't open, we had to do a lot of efforts this year to recruit staff. And, talking to colleagues in, different park districts, neighboring park districts, it just meeting that goal was a huge thing for us, because a lot of people were hurting, and, with staffing shortages and just in general, hard staff for lifeguards. And then we would like to run camp, swim lessons, and swim and gym out of Hidden Creek. We think it worked really well, and it was just so organized, and it allowed our members at the recreation center, for swim lessons, to not compete with having 50 kids in the pool at one time. So we would like to try that out again. Recruit early and often with heavy competition in the area, and just doing our comps. We are staying competitive, and we would like to suggest raising that to $14.50. Some of our neighboring park districts are even going higher than that, but I think if we stay competitive, that we will continue to meet our goals for recruitment numbers. Create new special events at both Hidden Creek and Rosewood. That's something we did not get to do this summer, and that we would like to bring back. Just getting people out there enjoying the pool in different, capacities, and making it fun, bringing the families back, and just, really enjoying both of our facilities. And then to create an inclusive environment at Rosewood Beach, promote free entrance days for non-residents. I think that would be a great initiative to really give back to our neighboring communities. And then work with marketing for sponsorship opportunities. There's just different, ways that we could do that. And with, our party deck and the concession stand, we really want to bring in additional dollars, especially if we're going to be running special events, stuff like that. Run birthday parties the same way for 2021. This allowed us to staff adequately, and there was a set rate for each party versus some of these small parties would, not bring in an additional revenue, and they were taking up that space, or people were doing makeshift parties. This really set the tone that, we're providing a service, and it's limited, but we're making as much money as we did in previous years. Enhancements to Hidden Creek to take place in 2022, a new pool shell, and then shade structures. If you've been to Hidden Creek, you've probably noticed, some of the shade structures are looking a little sad, and so is the shell. So enhancing those, and then work with the fire department to improve training and expectations. It's great that they help us, but I think just working and setting expectations with them too prior to the season, so they know like different things that we're looking for from previous years. Because I know this will be if this was my third summer. Now I know, some of the different common injuries at our pool and why we need to call them. So working in some of those scenarios with them so we can be more efficient and just make sure everyone is staying safe. And that is it for the aquatic summary. Anyone have any questions?
Let's go around the horn. Terry, any questions?
Oh, thank you. It was a very nice presentation, very detailed. It's just a lot to take in. I feel very good about the direction we're going, and keep it up.
Thanks.
Barney?
No, I have no questions. I think this is a great picture, by the way.
Thanks.
And we should obviously submit this someplace for an award. It's a great picture. It really is a great picture. Now, as far as the report, I think it was very comprehensive, and I totally understand the issues that we faced last year. And God willing, next year will be a real return to success as we've had in the past. Thank you.
I think we lost Cal.
Yeah, we lost Cal. He did send me a few comments, and he just wanted to tell Kari that he frequently visits the pool in the morning for lap swimming, as I'm sure you know, and on the facilities to be extremely clean, and the pool very clean, and the lifeguards were very attentive and well trained, and he just wanted to say nice job.
Awesome. Okay, I have a couple. Great report. I loved it. I wrote down, why did we budget less and miss? And now I can't remember what line item it was. It was towards the top. Maybe it was staff. Maybe not.
Staffing, we budgeted less because we thought we were going to be in reservations.
Oh, okay. Got it. Okay, perfect. And then it's sort of like one of the themes that I was riffing on earlier, where people were willing to do the punch card because it's not a commitment, but they were worried about the pass because they weren't sure. I mean, at the end of the day, you probably end up paying more in the punch card world if you're enjoying your service. Please let the dog out. Thank you. She did not use the raised hand function. So I enjoyed that. Did we close early sometimes because we were lacking staff at all?
The only time we had to close early was the last day on Labor Day, because we did not have enough staff to be at both locations.
Okay.
So
Maybe it was,
yeah.
okay, sorry. It might've been my
just
people
adjusted it.
expecting for the more hours that we usually had, and no one looked at the websites. We have different hours. Okay. And here's my bigger question. What makes us really competitive for lifeguards? Will it be the 1450? Do they like being beach and pool? Do we just have more to do here so we're cooler? Like, what attracts the lifeguards?
Honestly, I think my staff is the biggest recruitment strategy for me. I think they hear that we're having fun. We had 2 classes. Our first class, we needed about 20 more staff. And then after that class, we told them, recruit your friends, and they love training, so that, we got people. I would say this is my first year at Highland Park that we were getting people from all over. And all over. We had people like in Waukegan working for us. We had people from Stevenson High School coming over here. We had a couple from New Trier. So I think we're just not just going for the typical Highland Park, Deerfield. I think we're pulling people. We have, a couple families working for us and getting their friends and their soccer teammates and stuff like that. So it's really, if you enjoy the place you work, you're going to have fun, and you'll, just recruit for me at that
For
point.
sure.
So,
Do we
yeah.
have recruitment incentives that we can put out there? You get us something if you get someone hired.
We don't right now, but always a great idea.
Oh, it's a good idea. Well, I loved it. And we love the Aqua Park. And in terms of that patching it together as a parent theme, this is definitely one of those places you can go sit and relax and watch your kids have fun without having to be super duper hands-on. So thank you.
And I will just add on, Jen, thanks for those comments. Kari did just an exceptional job with the recruitment of staff and the hiring and the training. And same with the camp staff. I've heard the theme throughout many of the park districts is it's been very challenging to recruit and to retain good part-time staff. So I was very impressed with how we did this year with our part-time staff. Certainly pay has become much more competitive at the part-time level, and I think we've kept up with it pretty nicely. Of course, as she noted, we're recommending pay increases for next year for part-time staff. But as we see minimum wage go up and we see a help wanted sign in almost every window,
Yeah.
We have to find creative ways to answer those questions. How do we recruit? How do we retain staff and keep them happy and motivated and passionate about doing what they do? So
Yeah, that might have been my less eloquent way of saying great job. I was wondering what we're doing to get them, because everyone else has really felt the pinch this last season of staff, and had major holes, and it didn't seem like we did. So congratulations and thank you again. Okay, I think that's it then for our agenda, right? Any other business from staff or board?
none from staff, just thanks again to the community for coming out and participating. Thanks to the rec staff for doing a tremendous job, and facilities, and thanks to the board for your support, trusting us to make these decisions, and the community trusting us to have safe facilities. So that's it.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Okay.
Anything else from the board? No. Yeah? No? Nope. All good. All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Great. Ayes?
Yay.